are some Arabs fighting outside my window. Oh my god. So, there is a retraining program for those who want to work in the IT field without a higher education. The program includes both training and practical work at IBM.
And now, any post by Elon Musk is seen by people who are both subscribed to him and not subscribed. The theory of the dead internet.
And everyone who participated in this dead project.
Great idea, Mikhail, for a new startup.
Hello everyone, friends. This is a new podcast. If you can hear us, if you are hearing us for the first time, subscribe. If it's the second time and you haven't subscribed yet, then go ahead and subscribe. Victor, what comments do you have? Well, regarding the question.
I'm just reading it straight. In response to Mikhail's question about Alexi's statement that any lock can be picked. Anna writes that she thinks that biometric indicators, if they are indeed keys, such as fingerprints or retinal patterns, cannot be replaced. I believe that they can be, because
I believe it is possible.
This is exactly how it can be.
Well, for example, through imitation, yes. Through the imitation of this fingerprint, through the imitation of this.
Technically speaking, even if it were possible to log in, somehow using genes through blood analysis, it seems to me that this could also be done in any case.
Well, I think that the situation here is very simple. As long as there are security systems being created that cannot be breached, there will also be people who will find ways to breach them.
By the way, I think the only system that hasn't been hacked is normal enough. I don't remember what this system is used for. An encryption system using lava lamps. Have you heard of it? No. The essence is that there is a large wall of lava lamps, and a bunch of them. There is a camera that reads the bubbles.
Which ones? I'm sorry.
Forgive my ignorance. What kind? Lava. 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 Lava.
Lava lamp, lava lamp, lava lamp, yes.
I don't know what this is.
We open Google.
I don't know what this is.
Well, the essence is that inside there is just regular water and wax, which due to the temperature starts to rise and fall in bubbles, and the camera reads this. There are a huge number of these lamps. The point is that the camera reads this bubble and starts to encrypt based on its position.
And so far it seems like it hasn't even been hacked. This encryption...
Chaotic movements, yes.
So, do I understand correctly that the position of this bubble is some random point? Well, that is like some random start, which you can't just predict, you can't just calculate like that. Are there no simpler options?
Well, the rest is being hacked. By the way, I have my first piece of news in this regard, and it fits perfectly. What percentage of companies do you think, even in the world, consider themselves protected 24/7 in terms of cybersecurity?
I thought it was either very high or very low, maybe about 5%.
It makes sense.
Maybe just 5%.
On average, 34% of companies in the world consider themselves this way, and they, in fact, this fully corresponds to that. If you think about it, it's only a third of the companies in the world that are protected 24/7.
Is this considered an IT company, or are any companies included?
These are all the companies that can be hacked through cyber means.
It refers to the company's IT infrastructure.
It is now available to everyone.
Well, yes. You know, a mobile phone is also part of the IT infrastructure, by the way. And a laptop is also IT infrastructure, just in the form of a laptop. My entire IT infrastructure extends a bit further thanks to some software, but it's all still in one computer. So yeah.
Yes, the study was in Germany, and it is the most recent one. But this percentage, the overall global percentage, is the same all over the world. Interestingly, in Germany, every second company leader does not consider the area of cybersecurity to be their responsibility. In this particular zone, it is observed that approximately every second manager is committed to working diligently for their respective firm, ensuring that their responsibilities are met and their contributions are valued. In each episode, we have news about someone being hacked, broken, or some ransoms. At that time, we had the total amount of buyouts for the year that companies pay. But still, these billions, people do not think about security.
I don't care at all. I don't care, you understand? I don't care, you understand? You don't care at all.
I can say that this issue is usually resolved very simply. You move to the cloud, and that's it. Because when you transfer your infrastructure to the cloud, the responsibility for your infrastructure and its protection lies with the cloud provider.
Yes, but just now, by the way, I saw the news, but I didn't manage to save it. And then I couldn't find that link again. It was all about AWS. In general, it's quite significant now. I don't understand the percentage, but many companies are now returning to physical storage. And AWS has started to worry about this a little.
Are you talking about going back to hardware that is from the cloud's back?
Yes.
Why?
I didn't manage to read the news completely. I just came across it.
Are you moving like in the Game of Thrones at the end of the movie, and why?
Well, damn. In the next episode, yeah, damn, how much longer do I have to wait? We'll try to find it, but yes, that's the case.
It's interesting to think about what this is all about. Ideally, from a pricing perspective, it should be cheaper for the company to operate in the cloud.
It's not about the ion being expensive, it's about the service. It's like car sharing. So, is car sharing cheaper or more expensive? It's more expensive, but you pay for the lack of hassle. You don't pay for insurance, you don't pay for gas, and if it gets scratched, it doesn't matter at all. You just replace it with a new one. That's what you're paying for. The same goes here. You don't need to physically buy hardware. You don't need to transport it somewhere, install ventilation, cooling, or any data centers. Someone will take care of everything. You have everything stored somewhere in some data center. The company provides everything. Everything is specified in the contract. There is a support line. Everything is good for you. And the most interesting thing is that if you need any resources, they will be tailored specifically for you. Here's the thing. If you buy a server for $1 million and use it at 30%, then you end up with 70%. So it turns out there is 70%, and that makes 1070. These are some frozen funds. There you can specifically state which resource you need. If it needs to be expanded, it is expanded. If it needs to be removed, costs are reduced. That's a plus. Thank you. I hope everything is fine there.
Especially with security.
Yes, and accordingly they can also engage in backup there. This is also an important part.
So this is very convenient, but of course it's more expensive. Maybe they are also concerned about security because conditionally breaking something in the cloud might be easier for someone. I don't know, although it's also unclear. But again, if this needs to be done in the cloud, and if there is some isolated network, then they might prefer to do it not in the cloud, but to set up their own conditional server.
Victor, it's very simple. Take our house hub that we are writing, and sooner or later it will be completed, and it will need to be stored somewhere. And here the question will arise of where to put it. That is, if you place it on a physical server, you will need to ensure various measures to prevent it from being DDoSed and so on. Or you can simply submit it somewhere in the cloud.
Well, yes, where everything is already ready, the solution.
Yes, you pay. I don't know how many euros a month and everything works.
It seems that the price also depends on how many users the website or service will have, as well as the number of requests.
Listen, I don't remember. I know there are all sorts of different parameters like the bandwidth, how often backups are made, support line in case something happens, some additional things like Docker, not Docker, and so on. All these various flow processes depend on the number of modules and other factors which determine the price, but how it is formed, and this whole story, remember, all these processes. I respect what they do, but I don't understand. I will figure it out as I go along.
If anyone finds this news on the internet, please leave a link in the comments regarding ABC and the fact that some clients are moving from cloud storage back to hardware.
And if so, then why? That's the most interesting part.
Okay, what else? There are 3 news items here. One piece of news is the same as the one that Alexei has. And 2 news items related to virtual reality or augmented reality.
Victor, do you want to play some kind of riddle right now? So friends, there are 2 pieces of news, and Alexei is not here. 2 pieces of news related to virtual reality. What is it? What are these news items, Victor? Tell me.
The news is interesting. I love this topic, especially when it comes to healthcare. But I found Mikhail and I found Victor. So yes, Victor is telling me about it.
Oh, I'm just one big ear. Yes, the company Neuralink announced the release of the Blindsight device, capable of restoring vision even to people who are blind from birth. It has already received approval from the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA. The essence is that this will be a chip, like Neuralink, which will work even in a patient without eyes. It's interesting how they will do it without eyes, judging by what they stated, but there will likely be nuances there as well.
No, there are nuances in the translation. If you open the original, there are those who are blind in both eyes. Not without eyes, but there is a lack of vision in both eyes for some people. Moreover, those who have been blind since birth.
Well, it's interesting, yes, because if in the future it becomes possible to create some kind of bionic eye, and judging by what they write, it should only be that there is no damage to the visual cortex of the brain, then if there is a possibility to create a bioprosthesis that functions like an eye, then most likely they might be able to do so in the future. They even claim that, well, initially the image quality will not be very good apparently, because, well, to avoid putting too much strain on the brain and eyes. But in the future, as they seem to also claim, even in the infrared, ultraviolet and radar ranges, a person will be able to see, of course, that's really...
Well, basically there, it's like a competitor to a cat. There, basically, you can do it anywhere. Yes, and there, well, what are they basically doing? They simply connect. If a person has a whole area in the brain, then it is a defect. And there are eyes that cannot send a signal. They are just how the eye is structured. There is a pupil through which light enters and reflects. It passes through the lens and then reflects at the back. And there is nowhere for this signal to go. They collect this signal, which is also electricity, just like our nerves. It is essentially a current. The main thing is to convey it accurately from the eye to the cortex. On this path, you can already process this signal, make it infrared, whatever you want.
Wow. I saw this news on another YouTube channel that is specifically about various news. But this is definitely a bomb. What surprises me the most is that first they made an electric car. Well, many have made electric cars, but they are kind of famous for being the most, you know, like that. So what did they do next?
The returning stage, remember? Well, there's a nuance here. They didn't actually do it in principle because these are different companies. So, there are nuances here.
Well, you understand what this is about, right?
Yes, that is.
And then they have this thing, well, that's very groundbreaking. Welcome to the future. Listen, it's really cool.
Yes. For example, Neuralink recently reported that the second patient with a neural chip completely lost control of their limbs after a spinal cord injury and was able to play Counter-Strike 2 on the second day after the operation. Cool. In fact, it's really cool that such things are already appearing. The truth is, in my opinion, if I'm not mistaken, there is a very high risk of rejection of the chip, even with Neuralink. That is, it is still not perfect for sure.
Well, actually, it's really cool. A couple of patients and a few more years there.
Well, I recently saw people getting their hearing restored, those who couldn't hear, and it was just something else. People really just don't hear anything, and then they start hearing again. And this too. But how did they restore their hearing? I wasn't specifically interested in how...
In the same principle, we'll quack, peck, and securely stick it together with tape.
No, I'm just curious, was there some kind of technology there too? Of course. So, well, what kind... Honestly, I have no idea which one exactly, but there was a complete return of hearing. Most likely they were implanting something that was supposed to help treat all of this.
So listen, can you just imagine what a huge piece of the world becomes accessible to you?
And with vision, it's even more significant because, for example, a person with sight, even without hearing, finds it much easier to navigate than a person without sight, but with hearing. For example, a deaf person can technically drive a car, but a blind person cannot.
Well, maybe it can drive. There are special signs after all.
Yes, yes, yes.
A deaf roar. Yes.
In short, good job. Did you check their official website? The company, right? Haven't visited. Are there any interesting news there yet? It seems not. It seems not. Some Arabs are fighting outside my window. Oh my god, really? Can you hear it? A little.
Sometimes they cut off the air, yes.
It's just that there are some real troublemakers here. Just like that. If you touch me right now, I swear I'll really kill you. There are many like that, but no one actually kills anyone. Right.
Thank God.
Well, we have such a cheerful little neighborhood here. It's like 2 dogs, some kind of chihuahuas, yapping at each other behind a fence, and then you open the fence and that's it.
Well, to be honest, I don't want to open the gate because I'm not very sure, Victor, that there's a chihuahua there. That's the truth.
Well, yes indeed, actually.
And I don't want to think about this topic to check it. I want them to resolve all their issues and just live on in peace. What else is interesting?
Well, we've already shared. We're waiting for some small news. There's so much interesting stuff, really. Yes.
Well, alright, let me leave. I decided to inquire about a certain topic. There are a variety of many various companies and institutions that offer training and teach programming, both for money and for free. In our world, I mean everywhere, we have a lot of these schools, online and offline. Courses on Udemy and not on Udemy. There are really a lot. I thought, okay, there are other courses maybe, with some well-known prestigious brands. And I found out the following. It turns out that there are a lot of such courses, and since they are mostly free, people can specifically get into a certain company right after finishing them. So, Google, the Google internship program, take a look. For those who want to start a career in the technology field. Requirements. Well, indeed, English is everywhere there. Let's go. Let's be clear. To participate, you need to have basic programming skills. A higher education degree is not required. Interest is welcomed. The cost is free. You need to apply on the program's website. There is an online selection stage and an interview assessment. That's it. The link is below. Well, either it will be there. I really hope so, Victor, because I will solemnly provide it to you. Next, Microsoft. Furthermore, the cost is free. Apply through the program's website. I will also send the link. It lasts 16 weeks, including training and working on real projects. It is intended for those who want to change their career path to IT. Graduates of the program become employees. Well, there, if we are talking about the most successful ones, well, that's how I understood it. Amazon. The cost is free. Application through the website. I'm just in shock.
So, I'm going, right?
Well, I think that many people just take some roundabout ways. Look, a person wants to get into IT, but where do they want to get to? At Google. Well, Google is the coolest right now. It's top notch. There are even videos about Google, but where to go from there? People generally say that there are platforms like Netflix and some others that are quite similar. If you want to work at Google or in IT, there are some basic skills or desires needed. You can open Google and see what programs they have. There are free programs available, but you need to know English.
But even if you think about it, even if you don't get hired, just to be able to say that you interned at Google is still quite a good achievement. It's really cool.
Free English is objectively needed everywhere.
Free.
In any country wherever you might be working now.
Next. What's there? No experience required to show? Yes. Also, boom boom boom. IBM, you call our jobs? I also sent the link. It offers a retraining program for those who want to work in the IT field without a higher education. The program includes both training and practical work at IBM. A higher education degree is not required. Basic knowledge in IT is important. A desire to learn is essential. The cost is free. Applications are submitted through the IBM website. There will be an interview and a technical assignment.
Pam 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 pam. Maybe they realize that it's easier to train people. Cheaper. Yes, it's cheaper to train people almost from scratch on your own technologies and so on. Essentially, why are juniors still being hired? Because it's easier to train a person from the basics.
You know, Dasha, I think that maybe many juniors can't get hired simply because others are going like wherever they need to go. So at Microsoft, you go to Microsoft and they have a program where you study and end up working at Microsoft. But there are some bypasses, and I understand what this is related to, but without English, it's very difficult. I mean, you need at least a B2 level, I think. Basically, thus, Revece, a company that provides training, collaborates with Deloitte and Capital One. No prior experience is required, a desire to learn is welcomed, and the cost is free. Upon completion of the program, the company helps find a job, and we will also send the corresponding website. In short, everything is okay. General Assembly has a similar story. They also offer courses, which are paid, by the way. However, they redirect participants to some very prestigious companies, including Google and Microsoft, where they have their own specific processes. But nevertheless, here you go. Well, if there is English, here it is.
How much time is there on average for training?
There are different programs, some of which are quite long, around 16 weeks, if you have some experience. As I understand it, they take you for an internship somewhere. You're still studying there and so on, but let's put it this way. If you have sufficiently high skills, if you already know a lot and are learning a lot, but can't find a job and went there, then I think it will be a very good, let's say, support to advance very quickly. I think that if Google offers an internship at Google, please go. Intern at Google and then work at Google. As far as I know, such companies have career centers where you can look for help, and they can even assist you in finding a job, not just as a programmer but in other roles as well. I don't know. Some product, or maybe even perhaps something else, anything.
After this podcast, everyone goes to study and works at Google and Microsoft. Of course.
I just think that we really need to consider some obvious options, the simplest ones. But again, there's the English language. There's no escaping it.
Well, honestly, I didn't know about such programs, by the way. I'm hearing about them for the first time right now. I kind of understood that there was probably something like this, but it just doesn't catch the eye right away. Immediately, various courses, different tutorials, and educational videos on YouTube catch the eye, but none of them are from companies.
Well, it's like an incubator, I guess.
Yes. I will have one more piece of news for that later, but that will be after yours.
No, well, it can be like in the continuation.
Well, I wanted to stretch out the enjoyment. In short, it's actually an interesting story. I should really try to sign up for this program and then make a video about whether I managed to get in or not. I think that would be interesting. Well, I don't know at all what to shoot, what to grab onto. Ha 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 ha. What do you have, Victor, that's interesting?
Interestingly, the company Meta demonstrated prototypes of AR glasses at the MetaConnect exhibition. Orion, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's called. The glasses are insanely expensive. They will not be released to the consumer market. It's just, let's say, to show that we can... That's what they did. Yes. But from the perspective of what they have done, it's something else entirely. It's just a regular pair of glasses. Here. Well, they are a little thickened, of course. But they have projection. They are transparent. And the field of view is 70 degrees. This is one of the highest only. The Magic Leap 2 has a 70-degree field of view, and the Meta Orion also has a 70-degree field of view, but they weigh only 100 grams. In contrast, the Magic Leap 2 weighs 260 grams. So, on the head there is a specific large thing, but there is a nuance. The small computing block must be in a pocket or lying somewhere.
Well, like Apple views.
Yes, but to be honest, I don't know. I mean, if we take the same one, I will say something about the Meta Quest 2 for now. It has all the components inside and it works by itself. This is a really cool thing. Accordingly, in addition to manual control, it can also be controlled with a special bracelet that is attached here conditionally, and it will read various gestures and so on. They bought this technology a long time ago and no one knew what they would use it for. And now they have just shown this concept.
Do you know, Victor, how this will end?
Yes.
What? I can say... What? I don't know if Victor remembers, but Alexei definitely remembers. And I remember too. What were the cassette players like?
Cassette players were really great. Well, I know that.
Yes, I'm just not aware. I don't remember when they disappeared. It's just that one time, one thing led to another. Now we don't have cassette players. We have this little device and it holds all the music in the world. I thought it would be somewhat similar with glasses. There would be some cloud computing, maybe a small setup, with a couple of mechanisms, just like front end. For the glasses, everything else will be cloud candidates. Everything else will be reverse calculations.
So, even though the company does not plan to release these glasses to the consumer market, in the next few years we will see consumers with new devices that will be based on developments by Orion and so on. This could be... I don't know if you remember, but if I'm not mistaken, the product was called Google Glass or something like that. They released it. But it didn't turn out to be very successful in the end. It looked really cool, but in the end, it didn't turn out very well. Here, as I understand it, they want to release a similar product at a lower price. They can basically do this, judging by how they release helmets. And to enter the consumer market. And if I'm not mistaken, Mark Zuckerberg said that he either hopes or definitely plans that this will be something like the launch of the iPhone. At that moment...
No, well, it's clear, but time goes on like all the events with Google Glass. At that time, perhaps artificial intelligence was not as developed, and technology is still changing.
So now I have a question. Would you wear such augmented reality glasses?
Of course. Of course I would wear them. And I am sure that most likely these augmented reality glasses will eventually transition into some other type of device. Well, for example, I wear glasses and basically I can just make them for fun and so on. There are people for whom they do not suit. There are people who do not like to wear glasses. For them it seems this story is somewhat inaccessible. In other words, alternatives are needed for them. But the reality that the devices will immerse users in will be the same. Accordingly, I think that in the end, everyone will be involved in this story, and new infrastructure will be created around it, possibly something like YouTube as a separate market. So I believe that this world will also exist as a separate market in which one can participate in some way. And now, all of this is starting to unfold slowly. Now we can talk about the most unpleasant aspect.
It seems really cool, right? Augmented reality, everything will be great. We'll be walking around seeing all this with additional information and everything. Now let's imagine for a second how much advertising has appeared recently, which some people have tried to block, but it doesn't always get blocked in the end. That is, the amount of advertising increases significantly over time, in theory. This means that devices often have advertisements. For example, take a Xiaomi smartphone. When you simply open the file explorer, advertisements may appear almost immediately.
Well, for Semi, they have any embedded software only through advertising.
So, imagine this. You are just walking, and there is advertising everywhere in these glasses. That's how it is. Or, for example, here's another question.
Disable ads, for example, for a fee.
For money, yes, of course, for money.
For money, yes.
And here's another question. Which device would theoretically be better? This is simply from the realm of fantasy. Are these glasses, lenses, or something like eyes? What would you create?
A lens, probably. But if we consider versatility, then glasses work for me too. Eyes are probably some kind of interpreter. Perhaps eyes are for those who do not have them, for example. Either he suffered as a result of something. I think there is a great solution there.
Imagine if, in the future, people in some engineering fields are hired on the condition that they are equipped with special glasses, so to speak. For example, a person will be able to calmly see a heat leak there without a camera, and will notice, something is not right there. Not right.
I think there will simply be separate robots for this. Some drones that fly around the area, so to speak. Well, some small drones, micro drones that fly around and simply monitor the situation. Either cameras, I think that a person will participate.
Of course. Robots are being implemented everywhere now. Tesla had its robot performing somewhere, then dynamics, then this robot, that robot, a robot ant, a robot bird, a robot drone, a robot worm. There are so many different kinds of robots already.
Was there news about the bird drone? It seems that in China they made a bird drone that flies like a bird, so from a distance you can't tell if it's a bird or a drone flying. It has some crazy autonomy, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it, and it's definitely amazing.
I've seen it for hours. I've seen it, and of course it's amazing.
No, the Chinese are something else. If I'm not mistaken, they were testing or have already introduced drone delivery in China. It's just that this is also, especially with their population, with these urban jungles, with the floors, it is generally a really cool idea. Such a thing won't take root in Germany. Well, because the distance is large, it's probably much easier for them to take the package there by car rather than doing it this way. I think so. Because the distance between the towns is quite large. Well, I assume that it wouldn't take off.
On one hand, yes, but on the other hand, there are hubs.
Yes, certainly.
From the city, they were taken to the district, from the district to the cities, and from the cities to the villages. I understand, yes, that depending on the country, something is denser, not denser. Well, I don't know.
Well, for example, in Germany, as far as I know, they have removed internal flights. Yes, and mail services.
Yes, in the summer. For the first time they removed it for a long time. In the past, there was airmail. All the mail, you know, from Hamburg, from Berlin, everything just flew out on a flight. Now everything is expensive.
In my opinion, they just said that it will take about 3 days longer on average. That is, it doesn't take significantly longer, but at the same time, they specifically meant everything related to ecology.
Well, in ecology, in money, yes, we understand that where there is ecology, there is also money.
Listen, there was news about this, Alexei. You said he is in Sweden or Norway. What cars are in Norway?
Yes, in Norway.
Here. By the way, there are also a large number of electric and hybrid cars here. I mean, almost all of them are hybrid. There are a lot of hybrid cars in Spain, and everywhere they are building these charging stations. Yeah, electric charging stations.
Yes, but let's say the Mail, DHL, Hermes, they all have old, reliable diesel vans.
I have electric trains running.
I haven't seen it yet.
I was watching, and I found it interesting that they ride electric trains. And I think they even have a Mercedes electric train, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a Mercedes minibus electric train. But I don't know, I might be mixing things up. However, electric trains definitely run here. They are not always used, of course. It seems to depend on whether they are charged or not, so I'll take the diesel train.
Well, it's like that. You know, the cost of the electric bus, its payback period, we understand that it's a very long time. So, that's that. So, you know, I have something like this. You probably know the phrase, or have heard something very similar, that a person, or a people, without history has no future. Well, how about this question then? Do you think there has been research that specifically studies the internet? Websites, web pages, and they took the information that was published on the websites, on all the websites in general. They are trying to cover the entire internet as much as possible. Over the past 10 years, they have looked at information from 2013 to 2023. It has been a year since the information was processed. How many percent of websites do you think have disappeared from the network?
Disappeared. What does disappeared mean? Closed.
Well, there was a website, yes, there was a website, and now there is no website.
I think that Considering the large number of businesses that open and close, I believe that along with websites, it's also the case that 80 or 95%, well, let's take 95. There is 95%, but let's take 95 as not ready. I think it's percentages. Listen, I just think that a lot more of them is being generated. Well, if we just take the quantity into account, a lot of websites are created, but very few are maintained until the end. I'm just saying that many people just open it, and some close the site right away, you know, because something didn't work out. So there might be a lot of them, of course. But I think a larger part just comes from that.
No, in fact, a quarter of websites have disappeared from the internet, 25%. And while it may seem like a small number, it is actually too much. Because, as stated in the study, for example, every fifth, even American government website, has at least one link to some information that is dead. Because there was such an information resource, and it has disappeared. Almost every link on Wikipedia has dead links. Although, like, Wikipedia is an informational resource that, well, you know, and thus it turns out that we get a bunch of facts that have no evidence. Because there was some reference leading somewhere. This link is dying. And the guys are currently working on a project to preserve the history of the internet. They give the example of Pompeii. For instance, if there were no description at all, nothing. That is, no one would know what else was there. In 20, 30, 10 centuries, there may be little information about how people lived in the early 21st century because too many information resources are being closed. There is very little information about how people lived in the early 21st century because, frankly, too many informational resources are simply being closed.
Cool. I hadn't thought about it at all. It's very interesting. No one thought about it. It's very interesting. It's interesting that someone thought about this, conducted some research, and proposed a solution. Yes. Cool.
Have you heard there's some kind of trend going on right now? I don't know. The theory of the dead internet. Have you heard about that or not? Well, the point is that someone, I haven't gone into details, just heard that many social platforms seem to underreport the number of bots in their system, meaning the number of users. In fact, there are many more bots. It seems that Elon Musk stated that the statistics provided indicate that there are actually an order of magnitude more bots than what is reported. That is, comments and all of this are the same. Because of this, people say that the internet seems to be dying. That is, fewer and fewer people are actively using the internet, social networks, and so on. Because everything else seems like a simulation of bots. It's as if there are a lot of people, but it's all bots. There is such a strange theory right now. If I'm not mistaken, that's how it is interpreted.
I think, Victor, you know what? Most likely, well, I believe that there really are a lot of bots, but this thought can be developed further. Look, there are now a lot of AIs emerging that, for example, create avatars. I sent you one in particular of myself. Accordingly, with the help of, well, that is, naturally, this technology will develop. And probably there will be some technology sooner or later where you can do everything really cool. Well, that is, to create oneself, simulate a background, write text, mark emotions with some key tags in certain places, press play, and the person will just be talking. Well, if you add another speech model to it, you wouldn't be able to tell it apart from the real thing. And I think that in the future, the amount of such content, artificial content, will increase. And there will probably be a demand for real content, that is, to communicate with real people. Because the internet is a place of unification, in fact, for people. Yes, where a person can break into some interest-based groups. Yes, there on YouTube, there to watch videos. There are some other places, I don't know, there in social networks and so on and so forth. Well, if the content is like artificial, then it's certainly not very good. If the content is natural, then it will be interesting. I think that this kind of story could happen. I believe that it is unlikely to die out. I think that most likely he is somehow filled with it, meaning he will somehow experience it and go through it.
Definitely. Artificial intelligence will develop even more strongly, and it is developing right now. Stronger every year, and as proof of this, there is an interesting piece of news. Microsoft, in fact, is one of the leaders in the development of artificial intelligence in the world today, and it plans to launch a nuclear power station for servers for data centers. Yes, they will not rebuild it. It is an atomic station that was closed at one time. It was a former nuclear power station. It was closed after it was shut down. This will be the first case of it being restarted, and it will generate energy for Microsoft for a data center.
What will they be calculating there?
Because processing information in the traditional way, a search query through Google and a search query through artificial intelligence consumes 6 to the 10 times more energy, electricity. That's significant.
First of all, yes. By the way, the big mystery is that our brain consumes much less energy when processing very large and complex operations. And the big question is, how is that possible? He really knows how to do that. It's a big question. Here's another point. I don't remember if I told you or not, but I had this idea to create a series about how people have evolved, well, very, very significantly, and they decided to make some kind of super machine to simulate, for example, a complete imitation of their lives, and for instance to fast forward it to see where they end up. With the help of, for example, some atomic station, it turns out that they are also some kind of designed model. That's it. I had this interesting idea to make some kind of little film. And there is one more link in the chain. There is a philosopher Schopenhauer, whose essence is as follows: we represent the world as we do, simply because we do not know how to do it differently. And what we see is just how we are programmed. We simply don't know how to perceive things differently. It can be larger and more diverse, but we can't perceive it otherwise. Returning to the news about Microsoft, why do you need such power? What are they planning? Yes, development, but this specifically concerns artificial dialects. It's interesting. It's interesting to know what model of something they will have.
They are launching it in 3 years. They already want to launch this station, not at some point, but in 3 years.
It is interesting what kind of model it will be that requires such a large amount of energy.
But this is not just one model. They will take several data processing centers and install their own personal power source in them.
Listen, well, for example, there are these quantum computers now, and they just consume resources like there's no tomorrow. For stable operation, there also needs to be new energy. For temperature, various indicators, and so on. Yes, guys.
By the way, regarding energy, I don't know if you've heard or not, but some company, again, I won't go into details because it was quite a while ago, developed a cube that can provide energy. You just place it, and it generates energy simply because the chemical elements inside are arranged in such a way that they produce energy. You put the cube in your yard, and it generates energy for you around the clock.
In what form?
Do you mean?
So energy, what form does it take? Electricity? Electricity? Purely electricity? Electric energy. Well, if it's, again, it won't be eternal, that is it. Yes, it has a finite success, of course, yes. A battery, please, the same thing. Any battery produces energy due to...
No. They were explaining something about some plates, meaning it's not just that it starts working, it might be related to magnetism. It's an interesting concept, but for some reason, it's not in the spotlight anymore. The question is, why? They were really grandiose, they said, damn.
Are all the people who participated in this project dead?
Honestly, I will forget. I will send it, because it's really very... They said that this one box can provide electricity to 5 full houses. That is...
There are 2 options. Either it is actually very cool, it was bought and is being developed, or it turned out that it doesn't work.
Yes, these are 2 options that I really don't understand.
They forgot to mention that they provide 5 houses in several.
No. They forgot to mention that this box needs to connect to the common network.
Yes. Phew. Yes, yes, yes. Will its size be like one house?
No, they were just taking this into account as an alternative to wind energy. Conditionally, yes. They're conditionally to water. Yes, hydroelectric stations. Or taking conditionally solar panels. They were kind of offering it as an alternative. But for some reason, this alternative is not really in the spotlight right now. So that's the question.
Oh, by the way, there's something interesting and unusual. Have you heard of Reflect Orbital? Have you heard of that?
Is it related to chewing gum or not?
Almost. Can you imagine? It's night. You are walking with a girl, with a wife, with a girlfriend, walking down the street, somewhere in the forest. Darkness, darkness. You simply send your phone, pay for the service, and above you, as if from the sky, light shines down on you.
Not just light, but sunlight.
Sunlight. Well, where do you want it to come from the sky? Just like that. My dear, everything is for you. What do you think? Mikhail didn't understand something. Let's start over. I didn't understand anything.
I didn't understand anything. Well, very interesting.
In general, they came up with a startup. Oh. Is it a startup? Yes.
Hello. Hello.
This is a startup. These mirrors are already in space. There are already solar stations that use mirrors. You simply pay for it. Indicate where you are, and it reflects this mirror in such a way that the beam of light reaches the ground where you are. And it lights up for you at night while you have the sun. The diameter near you, the sun shines.
And what about fog or clouds?
It will shine weaker. No, it will not illuminate. It will be there, but it will be diffused. A cloud does not completely cover. It diffuses.
It scatters part of it there and part of it back. Most likely something like that. The essence.
Well, the essence itself.
The essence itself, of course. I think you are doing something wrong in this life. One person there is solving the problem of how to preserve the internet and websites. It's just a format. Apparently the data compression was very clever. So that if a resource is destroyed, it can somehow be split into some universal components. So here's a task for you. Someone else comes up with a startup where mirrors are flying in space. It's like, wow, what a thing. I guess I'm thinking too narrowly.
If I'm not mistaken, initially they seemed to... this was a long time ago. The mirrors were launched a long time ago, and they seem to have originally planned them for... the mirrors have been there for a long time.
Solar firm.
Yes, I think batteries should be made to generate electricity both during the day and at night. And the startup apparently decided why not give consumers sunlight if someone wants to sunbathe, darn it.
Well, it's just at night. Wow. Well, no need to introduce it. It's just some kind of Western lighting, right?
Wow.
Interesting.
You go on a date with your girlfriend, set up a speaker, press a button, take a microphone and start singing. You have a spotlight from the sky.
Or stand up.
Yes.
Hello everyone, audience.
Hey, hooray! I went to the sea at night, want it shining. The sun is reflected in space by a mirror that simply directs it down towards you. I think that there isn't just one satellite. Triangulation is likely needed, yes. They might be transmitting through a system of mirrors. Of course, this is about one beam, but the position of the sun wasn't shown. By the way, they mentioned that this could be a very large beam, specifically a bundle, not just a scattered one. But it will be diffused. It won't be bright direct sunlight, but it will provide illumination.
But the problem here was that, as far as I remember, they showed that a very large distance could be illuminated. And there are nuances about whether it would actually be possible to do that. But just imagine a person, for example, sleeping, I don't know, in a tent, and suddenly light is shining on them while they sleep.
Listen, what if...
Well, turn away from the sun if you can't say anything.
Look, there is something, a mechanism is set up that focuses, and depending on the distance, you can determine where a person lives. Technically, it can probably be used like that, yes. Of course, if you know their phone number, then you can find out where they are.
If you focus directly, a person is at a height, even at sea level, even within the city limits. This can represent different distances from space to the person.
Tomorrow these are very precise distances.
It is calculated using Microsoft, which is powered by a nuclear power station.
Well, I'm just saying that if we can direct something at a person from above, right from space, then theoretically we can direct anything at them, knowing their location. Right. Ha 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 ha. Lyrical laughter. So I think this startup won't work. Really. Exactly. It will work differently. I think. So, just like that, I think something will get tangled in space.
No, it just exists. It's just about using it. Most likely there will be some limitations. Well, because it sounds grand, but again...
No, well, the cost will most likely be quite significant.
I think the coolest thing awaiting us in the near future will be space tourism. That could happen, at least to some orbit.
If only they could learn to create artificial gravity without causing motion sickness. It would be really great.
So, like, to take off without any hint?
No. Artificial gravity can be created on space stations. This was even shown, if I'm not mistaken, in 2001, A Space Odyssey. It was shown how such gravity can be created, but there is a nuance regarding motion sickness. This hypothetical donut, which is supposed to press down, will still rotate, and the problem is that our brain will understand that we are spinning. As a result, a feeling of motion sickness will arise.
Well, for this they could introduce some glasses or lenses. You know how new iPhones have tracking technology. If they build this somewhere for you, well, yes, they will give you some points, and they will just make them for you through glasses or something, and your brain will somehow balance it out. Great idea, Mikhail, for a new startup. We have already developed... Well, for the new one... Listen, yes, for the new...
Yes, I'm really shocked by what is happening in the world. So, what else is interesting? By the way, are there any news comments for us? Or do we, Victor, have no news? No. No news has been written. No news has been written. Friends, why aren't you sharing news with us in the comments? Are you not interested? Maybe there's some news you'd like to discuss. Maybe we missed something. Perhaps we missed some very important news that is actually on the agenda. Well, about Elon Musk, yes, I've heard of him. He's really everywhere.
I'm announcing it. They are doing a great job. Listen, there was also a video of a completely paralyzed person who had something connected to their head, and he was moving some signals from his brain, apparently coming from certain areas. He was playing there. It was either that little device that moves or some other story.
Well, in short, they are currently testing Neuralink, and as I understand it, they are very selectively looking for candidates. It's not just that you come in and they say, "Sure, let's implant a chip in you." Well, it seems they are researching very thoroughly to avoid causing harm, and perhaps they are looking at the compatibility of this chip to see if it will work for a person or not. Because, again, how long has Neuralink been around? How much conversation has been had about it? Yet recently they only reported on the condition of the second patient with an implanted Neuralink chip. Even though Neuralink has been well known for a long time, and they have been saying for a while that they are looking for candidates. Either not everyone is ready, or they are being very selective.
I think that it's all not easy. Yes, it's all not easy.
But as far as I know, the chip is implanted not by a human, but by a robot. So there isn't really a purely human element. A little human. Yes, a little human.
By the way, regarding Elon Musk and his X, well, that's our network X, the social network in general. I leaked. The day before yesterday, there were many people who were unhappy with the changes happening on Twitter. And one of these changes, previously, for example, let us consider you have a personal account on Twitter, on X, and you could block someone. You receive all sorts of unclear spam. And when a person is blocked, they cannot see your posts, and of course, cannot write anything. since they are blocked. Mars has stated that the X network should be more open and transparent. Therefore, a person who is blocked will be able to see these posts but then cannot write anything there. In response to this, some developers were surprised about the openness and transparency, asking, when was this? Last year. We all do know that Americans love baseball as a favorite pastime. During the game, President Biden actually made a post on Twitter, on X, stating that he was there. Elon Musk was also at the game and made a post as well. However, the post from President Biden received many more views and reactions than Musk's post. But what did Musk do after that? He left the game even before it ended, gathered the developers, scolded them, and said, naughty naughty. After that, the algorithms changed, and now any post from Elon Musk is seen by both people who are subscribed to him and those who are not.
Well, the CEO, like, here it is.
Yes. Well, I got offended, so what are you doing?
Wow. Well, listen, actually, on the other hand, a person has the right. A person has done a lot and achieved many things. If he wants to, let him do it. Good for him. But it's really very funny.
By the way, regarding when he said this about making openness and so on in X, yes, in Twitter. I don't know if you remember this meme where Elon Musk was sitting, probably, I don't know, with a cigarette, but it was shown as a joint and he was just sitting there. It was a mistake, actually. It seems to me that he makes decisions about X like this.
Was that a screenshot from his podcast, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I thought that's how he makes decisions about X. Why don't we have something like that?
Stop in the fucking dictatorship. Dictator... Well, I think there already is. The viewers who are watching already have it.
Yes. Viewers need to watch very carefully to possibly catch such a moment. So, what else do we have? Well, from the same group that I mentioned, Meta. Meta has once again officially launched a new, innovative and advanced headset called the highly anticipated Meta Quest 3S. Previously, there is the Meta Quest 3, yes, it's the coolest, theoretically, but they released the Meta Quest 3s because they decided it was already somewhat predetermined that this would happen, that not everyone can afford a $500 headset, but many can afford one for $300. They thought, what's the point of this headset anyway? I tried it on. I saw some features like augmented reality appearing. I tried the third one, right? The one that's currently being sold. Most likely it's the third one, right? But the essence is that the third one can already be worked with in mixed reality mode. It is more comfortable, it is more convenient than the second one because the second is bulky, it weighs quite a bit, it is large by itself, while the third one is very compact. And since not everyone could afford it, the second Quest is the most popular headset right now. It is the best selling among all headsets. And they thought, well, we have this third one, which is expensive but cool, and we have the second one, which is already old, so we need to do something new. So they said, let's make a third one, but cut down on it. We will install the lenses from the second one, the screen from the second one. Because of this, its size will slightly increase, but everything else we will take from the third one, from the main one, and that's it. The processor is the same, the screens are the same, as in the second one, the lenses are the same, as in the second one, which makes the size slightly larger. They removed the 3.5mm headphone jack, an 800mm headphone jack, headphones and headphones, and that's it, there. The controllers are the same, that is, for the hands and so on. Everything is the same, only the screens are worse.
Can you explain to me why it is needed? I mean, what's the point of it?
It's like a console. For the most part, it is still a gaming console.
Toy. Yes.
This is a gaming console. In some instances, it can certainly be used for some rehabilitation, but usually other headsets are used. Perhaps these will start to be used.
That's because I know that you can watch movies there, you can see films, you can do everything. Like, it's more like a console in the sense that you can sit and play, but it works on its own. There's nothing else. Just a monitor, but around there's nothing at all. It's like we're inside. It's a full-fledged game. I understood that there's also a field of view and, well, I don't know. I haven't tried the third one. But if you compare it to the second one, it's probably like ski goggles.
So, the overview is limited like this. I can't see here, I can't see here, but I can see everything else perfectly. In the third version, as far as I know, the picture has become much better and the overview is higher, something like that. But it is mainly used for games. However, the third version also allows for comfortable work on the computer. The image there is quite good, and you can place virtual monitors, so to speak.
Joke.
That is,
In fact, when it comes to the reality of certain things I dream of experiencing, it's about the sphere in Las Vegas. Oh my god, I watched the video and as I understand it, a VR headset is basically just a television taken in a different form factor.
technically speaking, it's like a very expensive, good smartphone. In such a box, yes.
I came across a video by Vilsacom today, who has been doing reviews for a very long time, and I watched a bit of his review on Huawei, which folds the background 3 times.
Yeah, 10 inches, yes.
Yes, I really liked it.
No. It's interesting, actually. These foldable phones, they improve them every year. Samsung at least makes decent ones. They've gotten better at making them than before, of course. They are not the first. But still, there is a problem. With the bending resource and a very delicate sensitivity to dust and sand, especially. For the beach, for example, it shouldn't be taken at all. The risk is very high.
Why is it getting blocked?
It's just that if I drop a regular smartphone in the sand, nothing serious will happen. I can even rinse it with water. And if I have a fault of some kind, it doesn't matter what. A flip or a fault. If I accidentally throw it in the sand, or it falls from me, well, that's it. You can't wash it off with water. And if you try to open it up, either the hinges, or...
So, am I understanding correctly that the problem is that he is just falling into these bets? In fact,
Yes, yes, yes. They have improved them a lot now. Everything is much better. The earlier versions would get dust clogged very quickly, and the joint would break. Now, after them, they have come up with a bunch of brushes and micro brushes in the joint itself that remove this dirt.
Yes, but with each time they are actually doing better and better. However, there is one downside. For example, I can sell a regular smartphone in the used market, but the fold is not bought readily. It's expensive to repair if it breaks, and it has this bending and unfolding feature. Of course it exists, but it's stylish, trendy, youthful, and undoubtedly expensive. If you want to use such new technologies, I saw a tablet like that from Samsung, and I really don't understand where it's going. Listen, it's for drawing. No. For designers, this is probably a really cool thing, but again, designers very often use graphic tablets with a computer, or even screens connected. A graphic tablet directly connected acts like a monitor. Here, and on the tablet, there aren't always drawing applications. They are available on the computer. On the tablet, not always. That's the problem.
listen, when I had a tablet, I used it exclusively to watch videos in bed, to lie down and chill, or to sit somewhere and watch in a cafe, just in a normal, somewhat reasonable size. In fact, he doesn't really serve much purpose for me anymore. I mean, he probably checked some emails, played chess, and that's it. He's not needed for anything else.
Well, the majority of people use it, yes.
It can be so big. Just really big. I just don't understand what exact sizes you're talking about, but it can't be taken anywhere. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's really that size.
Well, by the way, I wanted to add something about the VR headset. There is a Plus, for example, there are virtual tours that are very well scanned, museums and so on. In purely technical terms, being in some hypothetical village, one can connect a headset and easily walk through any museum in the world. Well, not everyone, of course, will comply. Some simply won't allow it. But in some places there is such an opportunity. You can really walk through the museum, look around, and there are no queues. It's interesting.
Firstly, when I went to Madrid, to the Prado Museum, there were also all sorts of beautiful paintings by various famous artists. Well, such a thing would be very useful there. Because to buy, for example, you scan a QR code, choose a language, and pay some money. But what can VR do? Bring a painting to life.
Absolutely, yes, it's possible. With the same artificial intelligence, we can work on this and make it happen.
I saw a technology using virtual reality glasses that projects, for example, a building with its entire infrastructure, such as electrical and plumbing systems. You put on VR goggles and you can, for example, choose electric networks. And your house becomes transparent. You can rotate it there. And you have all these electrical networks there. You can choose, for example, to disable the networks and take a look, so that the network is not visible but the sewage system is visible, the entire sewage system, and so on. I've seen things like that. Plus I've seen such things being sold, even software like that. But, by the way, this technology has been around for a long time, for example, to look at an organ during surgeries, that is to see what it looks like in general, to rotate it, to see how things enter, which is all very useful for medical professionals.
If I'm not mistaken, in America they use mixed reality helmets from Microsoft. And as for Magic Leap, I believe that is a technology and device from Microsoft. And they are indeed used in hospitals, even during surgeries.
You asked? Microsoft uses lots of power. These headsets go through their data centers. In a significant development, the innovative company known as Proto has officially introduced their new experience called Visit to the Doctor to audiences across the United States. Interestingly, this launch does not involve any traditional screen-based platforms, setting it apart from typical digital releases. For people from small settlements and towns, you arrive at the local clinic, sit down, enter the office, and the doctor is in front of you as a hologram.
But not all doctors will fit this, as we understand.
Well, right now they have done this for, well, they have their own principles. They have done this for cancer patients because oncologists, well, really work in large numbers, well, only in centers, well, which are few in any part of the world. So, you come in, and there is a doctor standing in front of you.
Wow. Well, listen. Soon everything will be available for general viewing, probably suitable for something more detailed, of course. For some kind of consultation, it should be fine, right? So, all the tests are with the doctor, everything is available, yes.
For the boy, it's just on a boy's level. He feels calmer when he talks to a person.
It's holograms, because if it's a monitor, the head will just be to it, which won't be very good.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think that, I don't know, considering that there are already medical portals where you can make calls and communicate with people, I think that a hologram is, I don't know, the minimum. I believe that a hologram will just appear at your home. You won't even need to go anywhere, and you won't need to go anywhere at all.
If only because it's a device that can make a hologram, yes. If you bought it for yourself, I think then...
A hologram isn't even needed. There are glasses from Meta that will be released in the near future, and they will appear just like that.
So, look, let me continue. I'm talking about Meta and the companies that hire people. I've researched this topic and found out how else you can get into IT. Also for free. Look, friends, there are other ways, for example, through various boot camps. I have also sent all the links. Through boot camps, for example, Bloomtech offers an intensive programming course with the option to pay only after you find a job, income share agreement, hackathons and competitions. So just a moment. Hackmit and TechCrunch, also well known, they happen regularly. I also sent the links. There is a website. You can sign up for it directly and participate. There are a lot of different competitions, even online. The more you achieve in a short time, the more impressive it is. And based on the results, you may also be invited. For example, what else? Please, online programming competitions on HackerRank, Codeforce, Topcoder, please. Participate in competitions if you are good at algorithms, and include it in your resume, and get a job. There are various gamified platforms for learning, and interestingly, I also found out that there is a whole government program in Canada that helps military personnel and veterans acquire new professions. Can you imagine that? So, there are government programs and internal programs from various large companies that also address their hiring needs. This way, so feel free to explore as much as you want. That is, if you have English, again we return to this, it is very important, you will not understand anything. Most likely, you will have to communicate in another language there. If you have any skills, all the links are in the description. Try to sign up for at least one and let us know in the comments whether it works or not. In general, what it represents, study this question because as far as I understand, it's quite normal. Regular courses are exactly the same, only free and right on Google. Cool.
Yes.
Well, look, again, people are learning in courses. In the courses, there are algorithms that solve various problems. And very often they ask questions. Mikhail, where can we find such a problem? So where do we need to solve such a task? Like, why are we even solving it while sitting here? Well, for example, you will need it when you are asked to solve some task during an interview. Either you will understand and come to the hackathon, or there will be some kind of speed programming event, a programming championship, please. And half, even a large part of these competitions, they are tied to algorithms. That is, I have never seen, well, at least I haven't heard about that. By the way, there are links here too, take a look. When people are divided into teams and given a day to write an application, they start working like a meat grinder. Please. And everything else is about algorithms. All tasks are about algorithms. I don't understand why everyone ignores this.
Tell me,
It's difficult.
is it difficult?
It's difficult, unclear.
Firstly, it is difficult. Secondly, if I take into account that I have gone through this, it seems that, firstly, this is not present in real tasks, and secondly, it is not that simple. We need to understand how it works, then it will be clear. But at first, nothing is clear. I agree. And the main thing is to understand that it will indeed be useful in any case. The same sorting algorithms. There are simply many of them, and it is important to understand what they are for and how they are used.
In the end, you will be using a variety,
Well, yes, but you need to know.
because now everyone optimizes array list and linked list separately. Everything is being optimized, and no one uses them just like that anymore. I will use only array list despite a lot of factors. I want to use it. I will do everything through algorithms. No, you will use what works best in the general mass.
Well, of course. So, in short, here it is. But in fact, what's going on in the algorithms? Well, in the algorithms, you just need to solve these tasks, and that's it. Actually, when I taught algorithms, I solved these problems many times myself. And I remembered these problems each time. Well, I was sitting there thinking every time, there wasn't a moment of, oh, I definitely know everything, I can definitely solve it. Every time I remember that I've forgotten something, that I need to read something, or that I need to recall something a little bit, I realize that this is a skill that I also need to work on. So, that's the story, and if anyone feels they are good at solving problems, any bootcamp or hackathon, welcome. And I am sure, I don't know, but for some reason, it seems to me that this is the case, that when signing up for free courses from companies like IBM and Google, if there is an incoming assignment, then most likely, there will be an algorithm, and most likely they will need to be solved, based on time complexity and space complexity. This should also be considered. In short, that's how it is. Don't get overwhelmed and don't forget about the algorithm. Well, sometimes just give it a shot. Listen. What was the most difficult algorithmic problem you faced, whether you solved it or not?
By the way, we still haven't figured it out in the course if Vitra remembers, when there are 15 chairs in the bar, and when it was necessary for a person to sit as far away as possible from that. Ah, yes. So we needed to seat the guests as far away from you as possible. It seems to me that we still haven't decided. It seems to me.
No. I think the decision was made in the end, at the very end. It seems we had something, but we spent a very long time on it.
It seems to me that in the end, when we started testing it several times, there was still some failure. And Mikhail then had the correct answer.
Right now, it sounded like a stone in my garden, and Mikhail became a fool. So the correct answer wasn't given, leaving it a mystery for people to think about. I can also say that the correct answer is something you can find in 5 minutes just by Googling it. By the way, no one actually solved the problem. I proposed the following task. I don't know, just the distribution of numbers. So we introduce a variable, for example, let's say we have chairs, not 21 but 37, and we need to distribute people. That is, we have an array length of say 37, and we need to distribute them in such a way that the order is correct, as they will be by indices, so that the algorithm works the same for different structures of varying lengths. For some reason, no one wrote anything. There are actually, I think, about 4 lines. Just go through it in a loop once and that's it, just in the right way.
Yes, as far as I remember, we didn't even figure out Spring Security, if you look at it that way. As far as I remember.
Well, because we have an intensive course. No, yes, that's true. We don't have time to figure everything out. Right now, we're figuring it out. By the way, actually, no, not everything. I wanted to say that everything has been said, but in reality, not everything. So, look, yes, I will also leave links. So, Hackmit from MIT, TechCrunch. I will also leave a link, 24 hours of continuous work on the project. This is an annual hackathon. Participants create projects in different categories in 24 hours, from AI to fintech. Projects often receive recognition from startups and investors. They are open to everyone through the website. Registration. Please come. Facebook Hacker Cup. Welcome. Algorithm competitions. The company Facebook, now Meta. Participants solve complex algorithmic problems. How to join? Registration on the website. Please. Several rounds. The more tasks completed in a limited time, the higher the chance of reaching the final and gaining the recruit's attention. Please, friends, welcome to Google Code Jam, one of the most famous programming competitions in the world. How to participate. Guess. Registration on the Google Code Jam website. The competition consists of several stages, starting with online qualification and ending with the final. The same goes for algorithms. Welcome. Major League. Hacking. How to get in. Register, be amazed. Yes, through the website. Choose the nearest hackathon. Process. From 24 to 48 hours for the project. You can immediately receive a job offer from the sponsoring companies. Welcome Kaggle competition. Also create an account and go ahead. Well, there are all sorts of different ones, and then there are the less interesting ones like Codeforce, but that's just about solving problems. I mean, there's an enormous amount. I was definitely looking and going through some top companies, of course, that are hiring. There are also local companies, and there are companies, for example, I think we discussed various Western companies in the last podcast, which like to arrange all sorts of hiring, including not only IT specialists, but also completely different ones. So, my friends, look for more direct routes. Just go to Google using the link that we will have in the description and try to register and get in. The main thing is with the English language. The main thing about the English language, that's true. And that's all. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching or listening. If someone is just listening to the audio, stay tuned for the next episodes.
Leave comments. Yes, likes and subscriptions, please, friends. It will help us improve our...
Lots of likes, lots of comments. We will be happy.
It sounds like a prayer. Lots of likes, lots of comments.
A mantra is a mantra. Leave comments, mantras, subscribers.
By the way, I'll give it a try. Maybe it will help. We'll check tomorrow.
Yes, go ahead.
Bye-bye.